Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Is This Thing On? So, I'm a bad host. I was already supposed to record this episode. This episode was already supposed to be out today, but as usual, I couldn't think of anything to talk about. So, we're just going to go with the flow and hope that some of you find it entertaining, I guess. Right? I mean, I feel like podcasts are meant to be made because people like to hear other people talk, you know. um I mean, at least that's why I listen to podcasts. And also, I don't know, people's opinions are just very different and interesting, and that's another thing that's always intrigued me about podcasts. But anyhow, how's everybody doing? I can't believe we're already in the month of July. Like, time has flown by so quickly. And before we know it, it's going to be August and I'm going to be at my new job. And honestly, I'm already ready to just go back to work, to go back and start working. Because I'm like not working right now and I'm bored out of my mind. I am doing my teaching certification, which I already talked about in the previous episode. But I'm pretty much bored out of my mind because I don't have a job. I wanted to get a summer job, but it seems kind of hard right now. Like, a lot of places are hiring, but a lot of places are hiring for people that want to work there longer than like the summer. And so that's my dilemma. I just want like a easygoing little summer job, and at this rate, I don't think I'm gonna find one. Hold on, guys. All right, guys. Sorry about that. We are back, baby. As I was saying, yeah, like we're in freaking July already. Um, which I know quarantine made things very. I know quarantine made the concept of time literally irrelevant, but it's like I can't. I can't fathom that. I can't fathom the concept of time. Time is a very tricky thing. I think this is an episode I'll just have to do on one day, or I'll have to touch base on, just like the concept of time, because that's always fascinated me. And I know there's physics involved in it, and I was not good at physics in high school. I failed physics. Um, but I'll, at some point, I have to do an episode on that because, yeah. So, what are we going to be talking about in today's episode? Um, let's see. I say a lot of the time I'm not going to talk about my dating life, which is true. I haven't in a good while. And I go through periods of time where I'm like, guys, I'm so happy being single. And then the next episode, I'm like, guys, I just want to be loved. And I feel like that's the general consensus that a lot of us have sometimes, especially when you've been single for so long that you start kind of like questioning. I'm like, well, maybe I don't really want anyone anymore. I don't really need anyone. Because, so this is going to lead into today's episode of why I'm not ready to be in a relationship. Because this is a recent discovery that I have made about myself, and myself in particular when it comes to relationships. So grab a coffee, grab some tea, grab a little snack. We're going to talk about this. We're going to like unpack this, digest it. I don't know how long this episode's going to be. It might be a short one today. Might be just like 30 minutes. But anyways, just get comfy. I'm going to get my coffee. Um, I understand the way I say coffee is like really dumb. Um, I have I have this stupid accent that I break into every time I'm thinking about coffee. I either say coffee or coffee or caffee. Um, I don't know. I'm not from the East Coast, so I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of something I've adapted. My coffee's black just because I didn't feel like putting creamer in it. I've drank it black for like the last 2 days, and honestly, it's a vibe. Sometimes, does anyone just go through periods of time where they like their coffee black? Because sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll eat something so flavorful that I'm like, you know, I don't really want a super flavorful coffee. I just want like a plain black, room temperature, ice black coffee. And then it hits the spot. And that's what I'm currently drinking right now. Mm. I could put almond milk in this, but I don't want to. Okay, so we're going back to dating life. Have I said this before in episodes? I probably have, but if you're a new time listener and you're just starting to listen to this podcast, fun fact about this podcast was supposed to be a dating and relationship podcast, but your host, yours truly, does not have enough experience in that field. So yeah, that's why it turned into this, where I literally just babble on about anything. But anyways, back to the topic. The recent discovery that I have made about myself, and it's something that I didn't think was possible for me because I saw this common pattern in all the people that I've liked, but I never saw it within myself until it hit me last week. And yeah, I'll just say what it is. Basically, every person that I've liked has been emotionally unavailable. And I feel like some people don't know what that means. So I'll explain it. This is what it means in my own terms. Basically, someone that is emotionally unavailable has difficulty expressing how they feel to another person, to themselves. They are unable to be vulnerable with the other person and really tell them how they feel. Um, and oftentimes, them doing that will come off as cold and distant and aloof. And it's not always the case, but a good chunk of the time, these people that are emotionally unavailable can come off that way. Um, and there's a number of reasons I think why people can be emotionally unavailable, and I've heard a few of them in the book. It could honestly be going back to attachment styles, the inconsistent level of attention and the type of attachment that they built when they were a child, when they were in their developmental years. You know, that could have caused them to have a emotionally unavailable attachment persona, because a lot of the time, a lot of things that I've ugh, oh my goodness, a lot of the times I've noticed that people that are emotionally unavailable are also um, their common attachment style that I've noticed, and this is just personal observation, but it is avoidant attachment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back a few episodes. I have an episode, I think it came out last year around the summertime. Yeah, might have come out last year in the summertime. I have an episode on attachment styles where I went briefly into it. and I said I was going to do a series on it, and I never did. Maybe I'll do one this year. Don't hold me to it because I forget, but it would be a good concept to talk about again. Anyways, so common pattern that I've, at least in my personal observation, that I've noticed with people that are emotionally unavailable is that they have an avoidant attachment style, which basically means that when it comes to relationships, when it comes to getting vulnerable, when it comes to things that are matters of the heart and feelings and all that yucky stuff, it's not yucky, but it can't be yucky. Anyways, these people avoid it at all costs. It's literally in the name, avoidant attachment style. Now, I never thought that that I would be this way, because I very much identified with an anxious attachment style. Um, Parts of me has bits and pieces of anxious attachment style because I love to form bonds with people and I get attached very easily. But the other part of me just came to the realization. I think it took me getting hurt for me to finally think this way, but it took me getting hurt because now, as of last week, um, for the sake of respect for, I'll just say that there was a scenario with someone where I could have almost been in a relationship with this person, but because of my own anxious and avoidant attachment style, I decided against it. And I just realized last week that I'm emotionally unavailable in that aspect because and it's happened to me every single time, but more so now that I am very, very hyper critical and hyper aware of my surroundings and everything. I'm very much in touch with my feelings. Um, but more so now, I've realized that every single time I guess the opportunity of being in a relationship with someone has come up, it seems great at first, and then I really start thinking about it. And this is where the overthinker kicks in. I really start thinking about it, and I come to the realization that once I sit there with myself, and I'm like, I've always wanted this. And then I'll think about it some more, and I'm like, wait, this means I'm not going to be single anymore. This means I have to think about another person. Wait, this means I might have to sacrifice some things and compromise and do all that stuff. And I like my freedom and I like to be independent. I like to go out and do things my way. Oh no, I don't want to do this. Or I'm scared. I don't want to do this. I don't want them to see this other side of me that I'm not even comfortable with myself. And so I'll start going into all that ruminating, and I'm like, no, I'll convince myself. I'm like, no, you know what? You don't want to be in a relationship. Nah, no. And I'll make myself emotionally unavailable in that regard. I'll like kind of psych myself out of it and realize that I don't need it. And that's kind of what I did last week with this scenario that presented itself. Hold on, I'm going to take a little coffee break. Delicious. Yeah, that's kind of what happened last week with that. Um, and this person is great. You know, the person that wanted to be in a relationship with me. But the thing is, I think the other thing that makes me emotionally unavailable, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think that the biggest thing when it comes to dating is that, and this is something I've just recently realized, is that yes, you like the person and you want them to like you, but have you ever thought about how if you even like them, and what do you even like them for? And have you thought about all the qualities that you want in a partner, in that person? And for me, what was kind of a deal breaker for me, I'm not a high maintenance person. I know what you're saying. People that usually say that they're not high maintenance are high maintenance. I'm not a high maintenance person when it comes to dating and relationships. I will say, however, and I think everybody has this for themselves, at least I do, but I do have a set standard for the person that I want to embark a relationship with. I have standards. I have qualities and attributes that I want in a person that I'm not willing to forego. And the thing about it is that no one else can tell you what you need in a partner except yourself, because you know yourself the best. I mean, yes, I feel like there's friends and there's family members that can probably pick up on stuff that I think they think would be good for you, but at the end of the day, even if what they're telling you is good stuff and you think it would be good for you, at the end of the day, you're not going to know until you feel it within yourself that it's good for you. And so one of those things was a bunch of those things was that I wasn't willing to forego and get rid of my standards for this person that wanted to be with me, because they knew what my standards for another person were, and I wasn't willing to let go of it. And they were even saying that they're the opposite of what my standards were and that I needed the opposite. But I don't think I need the opposite of that, because I know myself the best. And I am not willing to settle for anything other than the standards I have set for myself and this and whoever's going to date me. And I just haven't found that person, and that's okay. That's fine. I'm so young. Um I think after also last week or the week before that we were talking about boundaries, right? Um After I have blocked and deleted all these people that were not good for me, I also just it was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, right? And now I don't know how I feel anymore. um because those people were toxic in my life, and uh, we go here's the thing about dating and just love and relationships and just the human psyche. Sometimes we do things for the sake of getting a react. Well, the human does things for the sake of getting a reaction. Bottom line, period. Everything is an equal and opposite reaction, right? The law of Newton's first law of motion. First or second, guys, don't quote me. I failed physics, all right? But humans do things for the sake of reaction. So do animals, but most importantly, humans. And so sometimes we'll do things in our life that are toxic. We'll go into toxic patterns of behavior. We'll go back to toxic people. We'll do toxic things just to feel something, just because we're bored. And I think that was my problem, is that I got too comfortable where I was at, that there was nothing really happening in my life. And I was like, you know what? Let's add a little dash of character development. And so what did I do? I went back to these people that were toxic, that I knew weren't good for me, that I knew weren't doing anything to my life, but I wanted that character development. And I'll do that sometimes in my dating life. Like, I'll want that character development. So I'll talk to that person I know is not necessarily good for me, just because I was bored. And I think, not that boredom is a bad thing, but I do think that it's okay to have seasons where literally nothing is going on in your life, in that aspect, in the love department or whatever. I think that's fine. And I think it's something I need to get comfortable with, because now I'm at a point too where I don't really have a crush on anyone anymore. Like, I'm not really in the position where I like anyone anymore. I'm kind of just like in this like phase where I'm like, I realize that maybe it's not, or it's not a good idea to just make drama pop out of the woodwork just because your life is boring. Um, realize that that's not something good to do. And that stems from having an insecure attachment when you were younger, carried over into adulthood, because you felt like the only source of calmness in your life was the drama that was happening in your life. So what do? I mean, I know that sounds very contradictory, but what do? You create some sort of upheaval and drama in your life to feel like there's a some sense of normalcy, because that's all you saw growing up. You saw drama and chaos and toxicness, and you associated that with having a normal life, right? So that's what you end up doing. Okay, guys, sorry, we're back again. I had to let my dog into the house. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Okay, so because of the type of environment you were in when you were younger, and you saw toxicity and drama all happening in your day-to-day life, you associated that as normal. So what do? You go and try to replicate that in a different way in order to feel a sense of normalcy. Does that make sense? I feel like I put that in pretty solidly. Um so anyways, um going back to me not being ready to date someone, um I think that um I the reasons I'm not ready to date someone, apart from being emotionally unavailable. I mean, you could literally just categorize this all in being emotionally unavailable, but I just am scared to be vulnerable. I have a massive guilt complex. Of I've talked about this a lot before, so I won't get too into it. But I have a massive guilt complex to where I feel like I don't want to burden people with my issues or my problems or whatever, especially my friends. Like, I'm very much a, I'm sorry that you have to hear this type of girl. I apologize, which sometimes apologizing is kind of an overkill. It's like, why are you apologizing? Like, we all go through this. We're all human. Like, it's all right. But I I think when you were raised in an environment where you're not fully able to openly express your feelings and really just be vulnerable, it makes it all that much more hard as an adult to really become comfortable with being vulnerable and being able to express your feelings. And I think that's something that I really, really am going to have to work on. Not just if I want to date someone, but like, I think just in general, that's something I need to stop doing, is feeling bad for venting to people, especially when I know they've reassured me that they care about me and that it's fine and they're my friends, but it makes it really hard. Another thing is I'm a massive perfectionist, and I feel like I've mentioned this in a lot of episodes, but I'm a massive perfectionist when it comes to like basically anything. Um, More so in specific things that I'm into, like making music and singing and my career and stuff like that. But um, yeah, I am a massive perfectionist, and it I've noticed that perfectionism carries over into the other little aspects of my life. And I'm not saying I want a perfect relationship because that's not inherently possible. But there is certain things that I will not tolerate, and there's like going back to the list of standards that I have for a person. I'm making it sound like I'm literally this, oh, I don't know. I promise I'm not high maintenance. But going back to that list of qualities, I should say qualities instead of standards, because if I say standards, it's gonna make me sound like a snob, and I'm not. Um, but going back to that, um, I my perfectionism kicks into even that, because if there's not at least one quality on there that I don't see in the other person, I won't even consider the possibility of dating that person, because it's part of like my non negotiables. I read somewhere that it's good to have a list of 5 top qualities in a person that are non negotiable. And I have my top 5 that are non negotiable. I feel like I've already discussed them though in like previous podcast episodes, so I'm not really going to go into it. Um, I mean, I guess I could briefly run down for anyone that's out there that wants to know what. Number 1 is that they have to be a Christian, God fearing man. Um, I'm a Christian, and my relationship with God is the most important thing in my life, and I want to be able to be with someone that has a relationship with God, not just calls themselves a Christian, but has a relationship with God, knows the Bible, knows God's word really well, and someone that is going to encourage me even more in my walk with Christ. That's super important to me. Um, so yeah, someone I can go to church with. I would love that, because I love going to church. I love my church friends. Um, Shout out to any of them if they're listening to this. But what else do I like? Uh, Someone that's respectable, that respects me, and gives me. I was talking about this with my friend Vivian last night. Shout out to Vivian. Vivian's probably like, "Where's your episode, Eva? Like, you haven't put it out yet?" No, Viv, I'm lazy, and And you and I both know this because I was telling you, Ricky, and everybody else last night that I have to put out an episode today, and lo and behold, we're barely recording it, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll be out in like an hour. Anyways, um, yeah, someone respectable that respects me, honors me. Ooh, that makes it sound bad. Honors my time and my space. That's important to me. I want someone that's educated. Um, Someone that went to college, has a bachelor's, that loves learning, that loves going to school, that is just very knowledgeable and educated, and can bring forth knowledge into the relationship. Um, I like I like people that are smart. Um, to put it simple, yeah. To put it simply, I like really really smart people. I've always been attracted to people that have high intelligence and that are just able to articulate themselves very well. Um, I mean, I consider myself pretty smart, I guess. But yeah, that knowledge and intelligence is probably one of the most attractive things a person can have. Um, so I like that. And because I would hope that my future spouse would encourage our children to go out and get an education and do that, because that's one of the things I'm really grateful for that my parents did with me, is that they always encouraged me to go out and get my education and focus on my studies, and it paid off because I graduated college so early. um, but that's important to me. So what? That's Christian man, Christian values, respect, educated, has a good sense of humor. That's number 4. I am a very funny girl. I am very punny and witty. And so not need, but I would love someone that maybe doesn't have the same sense of humor as me, but is humorous. Um, because I live my life in a very funny manner at times. There's times where things will happen to me and it'll feel like I'm on this comedy show, and oftentimes a lot of stuff that happens in my life is pretty funny, at least to me. um and I feel like I have a really good sense of humor. I can make people laugh. um Sometimes it comes to me naturally, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time I feel like it does. And so whoever I'm with, I would hope that they would have a sense of humor. um because I love laughing. I'm always laughing. I like to make people laugh. I like to make people smile. And I feel like sometimes we don't need to take life too seriously. And God has a sense of humor. So I would hope that my future partner has a sense of humor too. Because that would be really nice. I feel like I could not be with someone that's boring. Um, yeah, funny, witty. Yeah. And that sarcasm also falls into that category. So if you're very sarcastic, hit me up. Okay, what's the last one? Number 5. That was 4. Someone that's loyal. Someone that's loyal. I feel like loyalty is a quality we take for granted so much nowadays, because it's crazy how people can be with someone for such a long time and not know that their partner is cheating. And that's the sad reality of it too, you know. I feel like the basis of a relationship should be trust and communication. That's what needs to build the foundation, the basis for a good relationship. And oftentimes it's not the case, and that's why one of those two things was violated. The trust and the communication, or both. Or there was a lack of both. And that's what causes a discrepancy and that's what causes the relationship to just go bad, go sour. And it's really hard to build a good foundation, build a good sense of trust with whomever you're with. And the ideal thing should be to trust whomever you're dating, right? And trust that they are going to be faithful and loyal to you, but you just never know. Um, that's why I don't think it's a bad thing to be selective and picky and careful and cautious about who you choose to date or be around, because you know your time and your love is one of the most precious things you can give. And once you let people in to those areas, it's kind of hard to, and they violated all that, it's kind of hard to want to do it all over again, right? Because to me, I see those things as an event. Time and love are investments, and that's another thing I've realized in the last year or so, that you really only should be investing in people that invest in you. And the amount of them don't invest more than they invest in you. So if you see that that person is not investing in you, if you see that they are lacking with their communication, with whatever it is, um, it's okay to just be like, you know what, I don't want this. I don't feel like I need this. And I've said that to some people. I'm like, you know what? I don't need any more surface level friendships. And what I mean by that is like basically like people that you consider quote unquote friends, but you never really dive into the deep stuff. You never really see each other in a vulnerable capacity. You don't talk about things that are deep and meaningful. You kind of just you talk about the news, the weather, the sports, whatever, right? You know, I don't see the point in having friends if you can't um if you can't make meaningful and deep connections with someone. And I think that also correlates into my relationship aspects too. If I can't see myself having a deep and meaningful and thoughtful moment with this person, if I can't see that insight that they have into their brain, into their mind, into the way they think and act, you know, what's even the point? If I want surface level things, um, I'll just ask Google or Siri. um, you know, and I think it's okay to have acquaintances. I think it's okay to have people that you keep in touch with once in a while and be like, "Hey, you good? You're dead? You're not good? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Bye. See you next year." Um, I think it's fine, but I don't think you should make it a habit or make it a point to reach out to those people if they're not reaching out to you. Um, so I don't see any value in surface level friendships. I really don't. And I hope none of my friends think that I'm like calling them out right now, because I value each and every single one of them, and I think very highly of each and every single one of them. So, yeah, none of the friends that I'm with right now are surface level. Thank God. It took a while, but we're here now, and I'm very thankful to God for the friendships He's blessed me with. Um, okay. So bringing it all back home, right? Home base. Um, yeah, me being emotionally unavailable. I'm not ready. I'm not ready, and until I can confidently in my soul feel like can fully say that I see myself. That's the other thing too. My perspective on dating has changed drastically within the last 2 years. Um, I used to be very nonchalant about it, and now I'm looking at it very seriously, because going back to the love and time investment, if I cannot see myself dating that person, and I know what you're thinking, the only way you'll find out is if you date them. I guess, fair point, right? But if I can't see myself being with that person long term, like as in we're going to get married or this is going to lead into marriage, I don't think I could be with them, because I think it would just be a disservice and a waste of time. Well, not a waste of time, but it would be like a little learning curve that I would have with this person. And I feel like some people are meant to teach you things in life, and that's perfectly fine. But if I can't see myself being with this person long term, I don't see the point in further developing a friendship. A relationship, friendship or relationship with this person, right? Um, so, and that's important to me. Like, I used to be very casual about dating, and I thought, well, it's okay to go on the dating apps. It's okay to do this. And hey, look, I'm not ratting anyone out. If you like dating apps and you think they work for you and whatnot, that's great. They did not work for me. I don't find any amusement in using them. And I don't see any value in using them. So I just think that everybody has their own stance on it. But for me, I'd rather meet people organically and see what comes about from that, but be very cautious with my interactions, because I'm thinking about things in the long term aspect. That's what I'm thinking about already. Um, I know I'm only 24, but I am already looking into the future. I'm looking into marriage. I'm looking into starting a family with someone. Not at this very second, of course, but that's my hope and my dreams. And I think it's okay to be selective of who you're with. So, yeah, going back to stuff. I keep going off on these little tangents that I'm sure make sense in some sort of capacity, but um until I figure out, until I get to that point where I feel like I'm gonna enter a relationship with someone and the inner dialogue in me is not like, no, I miss this, I miss my singleness, I miss this, I miss that. Until I get to a point where I'm not having, I guess, what you would quote unquote call butterflies and stress, if I feel peace over it, then I will pursue it full force. But if I don't, then I won't go into it. And I actually also read up too that if you feel butterflies around a person, that's a sign. That's like that's a physiological sign. It's physiological, and it's psychological. Um, that if you feel like the butterflies feeling, right, that's your body's way of warning you that you should not be with that person, or that this person is giving you anxiety. There's anxiety over the situation. And if there's anxiety over anything, you shouldn't go forth with it. Or you shouldn't force yourself to go move forward with it, because you're going to end up regretting it in the long term. There's more risk than reward in that aspect. So until I get to that point where I feel like the person I'm meeting with is right for me and I feel peace, and another thing that I think is helpful, I mean, at least if you're a Christian or you believe in a higher power, I think that you should pray and meditate over the decisions you're going to make, especially when it comes to like a partner, because it really brings about a lot of clarity. When I pray, I get clarity over so many things, and God is so good in that regard. Regardless of what I want to hear, God has always given me clarity over everything. He's not a God of confusion, of deception. And so that's one of the things that I feel like I haven't gotten peace over any of the people that I've thought were gonna be potential significant others. There's always been like anxiety over it. And yeah, I need to make, I literally need to make peace with that. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And that's okay. And that's perfectly okay. I think there's a lot I need to work on. I don't know if there's a time frame in which I think I'll be ready. I've said 6 months. I've said a year. Who knows? Maybe in like a month I'll be okay. No, I doubt it. But um, I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And for now, I'm excited to go into the next phase of my life, which includes a new career. I'm very ecstatic about that. And that's the other thing that I was telling some of my friends. At least some of my friends were, because I'll ask um, some of my friends, right, if they think, and I think it's important sometimes, right? Sometimes we have our own confirmation bias, and I think it's important to ask other people what they think about what it is that we want to do. And I've asked a few people, um, particularly my friend Randy. Shout out to Randy. Randy, if you're listening to this, I know you listen to this, so um, I've asked him a few times. I'm like, do you think I'm ready to date someone? And he's like, no. And I'm like, why? And he's like, one of the reasons that he pointed out was that apart from my mental state, is that I'm a busy person. Like once I get busy, once I get into my job and my career, I don't want to put it this way, but I guess I'll have to put it this way. It would be very hard to see how I can fit this person into my life and make time for them. Because ultimately, a relationship is an investment, and with an investment, you have to put time and effort. And if you can't find some sort of way to put time and effort into it, how's it going to work, right? You can't just have one person sacrificing their entire life for the other person. And I don't ever expect whomever I'm with to do that. I don't, because I don't want you to have to put your life on hold. And I don't want to have to put my life on hold for you. I don't like that. I think there could be a happy medium that we can find. But right now I don't see how I could put this person into my life, because I'm just such a busy person. Like once I'm really really busy, I'm busy. Like I really get into it, and I have a tough time saying no to a lot of commitments. Cuz I like to stay busy. That's just part of my personality. I always like to have something to do. So right now that I don't have a job, I'm just kind of like, I'm freaking out because I'm bored. And yeah, I'm doing my certification, but like I'm also procrastinating a little bit on that. And I always feel like I need to be having I always feel like I at least need to be doing like two or three things at once. That's just how my brain works. And God bless whoever ends up dating me because I feel like you're just gonna have to get used to that. Like I'm always juggling two or three, four or five things at a time. Uh, and I think I do a good job of it. It's just that like I don't see a way in which I could fit someone into that part into my life. It's kind of like a puzzle. I'll use the analogy of a puzzle. It's kind of like a puzzle. This person is a puzzle piece into my life. How would I be able to stick them in there? I'm not gonna force the puzzle in there, and vice versa. I'm not gonna force this person to fit me into their puzzle of life. You can't do that. That's the other thing I've learned too, is that of why I'm not ready to date is that I have found myself often begging people for their love and their time and their attention and and you can't force someone to be in your life if they don't want to be there. And if you have to force yourself to fit in, if you have to force that person to fit them in, ugh, if you have to force the person that you're talking to fit you into their life, have more respect for yourself. I'm just going to say that. That's a clear sign that you're not respecting yourself. And I've come to the realization that I wasn't respecting myself in that regard. You know, you should know your worth, and it shouldn't be contingent upon how someone can fit you into their life. So that's another reason why I think I can't date at the moment, is because I needed to find the self-respect and the worth in me. And I go through periods of time where I know my worth, I know what I will put up with, but then sometimes I'll take it back and I'll forego everything, and I need to get into a comfortable place with that. And so yeah, I those are all the reasons basically why I'm scared to be vulnerable. I'm scared to open up. I'm scared to see how this person will fit into my life. I'm scared of them seeing all my quirks and flaws and all that. I'm not quite ready for any of that. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm in a new phase of my life and I'm really happy right now. So, yeah. That's all I got to say, guys. That's basically why I'm not ready for a relationship. Um I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Got something out of it. Sorry, it cut off. It only lets me record 30-minute segments at a time. But, anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this week's episode. I know I'm posting it literally on the day of, so I'm sorry. But I hope we learned something from me. I always hope that in these little podcast episodes that I put out, either my mission in these is that it'll either make someone laugh, it'll inspire someone, it'll hopefully help someone learn something about themselves that they didn't already know, or someone just genuinely enjoys it. Because then as much as much of a lame person that I can be sometimes on these podcast episodes, I really do enjoy recording them. I have fun with it. I feel like we're besties and we're having a heart to heart conversation every time I have these. And I feel like that's what it should feel like. If I had my own talk show, I feel like that's what I would want the vibe of the talk show to be. Very much a very nonchalant, heart to heart conversation. So I really hope it makes someone's day, or at least distracts them from whatever it is they're going through if they're having a rough day. Um Anyways, that was some insight into my why I'm not ready to date anyone right now. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, follow the podcast on Instagram. I'll post the link below. Follow me on Twitter if you want to. Follow me on Instagram if you want to. I will post those links below. If you have an Apple Podcast, leave a review, comment, all that stuff. Google Podcasts too. It's available virtually anywhere. This podcast is available anywhere. I have a podcast number. As always, you can call it and leave me a voicemail. And I'll leave the number down below so you guys can call it. Because I don't have my phone with me, and I don't have. This is embarrassing to admit. I do not have the podcast number. Wait, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. I don't have it memorized, guys, which is embarrassing. I've had a podcast number for my podcast for like ever, and I don't have it memorized. Okay, the podcast number is 956-278-0720. 956-278-0720. One more time. 956-278-0720. So go call it. Go leave me a voicemail message if you would like. If you'd like to be featured on the podcast, leave a voicemail. If you want advice, leave a voicemail. You can also text the number, I think. If you prefer, there's also a voice message link that you can click on and leave a little voice message, and I might just feature it on the next podcast episode. Who knows? If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, just email the podcast or give me a ring. One of the two. And I'm not picky, and you can most likely end up being on the podcast because I'm just a little nobody that started a podcast, okay? I'm not a celebrity. I'm not anything. And I'm always looking for fresh, new perspectives. So I literally invite everybody to be a guest on my podcast because, come on. I'm not that interesting. Anyways, hope everybody has a beautiful morning, day, or night wherever they're at. Hope everybody's enjoying their summer. What else? I love you guys. Thank you for sticking with me and enjoying these episodes. Go forth, prosper, and God bless. Bye, guys.